your way.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Mark Nelson, Chief Meteorologist here at KPTV. This is the First Alert Weather Podcast, and this is also episode number 125. It's me, and we've got Camila Ortiz, meteorologist here at KPTV. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Mark?
All good. It's just us. Katie, I don't know what she's doing, but she had the day off, so she said, not going to be joining you two.
That's totally fair. I respect that.
That's good.
Yeah.
And we have kind of a beautiful afternoon. Did you see sun?
I did see a little bit of sun, yes, on my way into work.
Before you came in?
Yeah.
I did too. It was slower to break out. I hate, that wintertime forecasting, all this, low-level fog and stratus, which is low clouds.
It's really tough, yeah. And actually, I'm excited to pick your brain on what exact conditions maybe we would be looking for to break out of the fog a little more quickly.
A whole bunch of east wind.
There we go. Yeah, it's
or lower dew points.
Yeah.
If you can bring the dew points lower, you basically bring dry air in from any direction. Usually it's north or east.
Yeah.
But in the wintertime, that'll evaporate the cloud cover and fog.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is, what is the day? Oh, I've got it right there on the computer. It's 5:40 p.m. We're recording this Friday evening, heading into the big MLK weekend, Martin Luther King Jr. Day weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people have a 3-day weekend, and it looks like pretty good weather. I think that's a big message here. We don't have a whole lot of weather going on, but you know what? We got the term of the week, and we're going to start with it. Let me share my presentation here. Okay, I've got the presentation pulled up, and you know what? Normally we do term of the week at the end of our podcast because, it's just kind of a gee whiz sort of thing. But Camila, I figured this week we're going to do term of the week to start with because the term of the week is inversion.
Oh, how timely.
Yeah. Nice. We're going to cover that first because we had some inversion action this week. We're going to cover our pretty dry January so far. Now, I realize it's kind of a play on words since I actually didn't think of that until I was typing it out. I thought, wait a minute, even I do a dry January. I'm on my no sugar, no alcohol thing for this month.
Yeah.
But, this is about the precipitation, not how much alcohol you consumed in December. There's no judging on this podcast.
That's right.
Unless you really got out of control. Snowpack update. So what does this mean for our snowpack? How are we doing so far? We'll cover what's next. All right. So February is lurking like some weirdo around the corner.
It's coming.
In no time, we're going to be in February. But could there be some weather action? I know all the weather geeks are excited. They're seeing some stuff on the maps, which, gets things going. So we'll see.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have some great pictures to share. So let's
do.
jump ahead. Camila, I can only see my presentation when I'm doing this. I can't see you. I'm sure you look great.
I'm just going to make really horrific faces the entire time you're explaining this.
Wait, I'm checking just to see. But no, seriously, if it disappears at some point, let me know.
Yeah.
Okay, so the term of the week is inversion. Here we go. And, we like to go to the AMS, the American Meteorological Society, the glossary of meteorology, because, that's kind of the official, the Bible, the weather Bible, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
So this is their definition right there. It's a temperature inversion. By the way, we got to say this every week. You may be just listening to us, the podcast version, just audio. We strongly suggest the video version. We have it online, kptv.com. You see a push alert comes to your app when we do a new podcast. The video version, we show so many graphics in this business. That's what we do, weather, charts, graphics, satellite loops. We got 2 coming up. That you probably should watch the video version.
Yeah, to fully get the 100% nerd experience, we recommend the video.
To immerse yourself in the greatness of Pacific Northwest weather,
That's right.
You're going to need the video version.
Yeah.
Right. You're right. So temperature inversion, that's a description there. It's a layer in which temperature increases with altitude. And we'll describe why the temperature would normally decrease with altitude coming up. But it says right there, its principal characteristic is a very stable environment. There's very little turbulent exchange between that layer and what's above or below it typically. Sometimes you get strong wind shear across an inversion. We see that out near the gorge in the wintertime when we have a very warm air mass overhead, but there's cold air pouring through the gorge. Those planes taking off from PDX suddenly punch into an easterly wind. Sometimes they punch into the easterly wind above. Sometimes the easterly wind is blowing as they're taking off, and then they punch into like a light southerly wind overhead.
Yeah.
So that would be one example. There are different kinds of inversions. Typically what we are talking about is a subsidence inversion, where there's subsiding air overhead from an area of strong high pressure in the upper atmosphere. Trade wind inversion, if you go to Hawaii, almost all those showers, most of the time, the trade wind showers, they're kind of weak. They move quickly. Those are usually under the inversion. It's actually significantly warmer once you get higher up. Maybe not significantly warmer, but it's not as warm as it could be at that latitude in Hawaii. Hawaii rarely gets much above 90. Anyway, so that's your temperature inversion. All right. So Camilla, you've been taking a lot of classes.
That's
You are
right.
just about a fully qualified meteorologist now.
Just about. I've got two
You've learned a
semesters to
lot
go.
more than I probably lost more information. So 2 semesters to go. Okay, so you probably know more information than I've lost a lot over the last 35 years. You know, if you don't follow a discipline, closely, I don't mean
Yeah.
meteorology in general. I mean all the details,
Yeah.
the stuff that we learn in school once and we don't use on TV or in our
Right.
day-to-day lives. You
Yeah.
kind of forget about it. But do you remember this chart?
Absolutely. Yeah. You've got all the different layers of the atmosphere here and kind of what the temperature trends of each are.
Yeah, and you see typically, so we live within the troposphere.
Mhm.
Which goes up to, this will be 6 miles, so that'd be
10K-ish.
30,000 feet.
Mhm.
It actually varies from, I think it's much lower over the polar regions, and it's higher than, it could be a little lower than this over the polar regions, it's significantly higher over the tropical regions.
Mhm.
The tropopause is the area between the troposphere and the stratosphere. And you notice how temperatures in general, in a normal, well-mixed atmosphere, we like to call it, they fall through the atmosphere.
Right.
And then actually in the stratosphere, they stay steady and they go up. Then in the mesosphere, they go down. And then they go through the mesopause. And the thermosphere, they go way up. So in a model atmosphere, in the perfect atmosphere where we all live that we care about, the troposphere, temperatures typically fall with height. So it averages about 3.6 degrees per 1,000 feet.
Mhm.
So if everything's all mixed out perfectly, Timberline Lodge, if Timberline is 50 degrees, it should be about 7 degrees warmer on average down to government camp. So let's say it's 57. And on a 50-degree well-mixed day at Timberline Lodge, it should be about 72 down in Portland.
Mhm.
But wait a minute, it was 50 at Timberline Lodge earlier this week, right?
Yeah.
It was. So what's going on here? Oh, yeah. Here we go.
Nice.
We've got a sounding.
This is hardcore, guys.
Yeah. So, and you've used these more than me. I mean, in our day-to-day TV world, we don't look at soundings often. Typically, when I look at soundings for my job, it's only when we have snow or ice coming in. Or I guess when we're worried about getting rid of the low clouds too,
Yeah.
we'll look at soundings. But on a day-to-day basis, I don't regularly look at soundings for what I do.
Yeah.
So twice a day, there are all these different places around the world they actually send up balloons. And the balloon carries what's called a radio sonde, and it radios back the information back to the base twice a day, typically, sometimes more. And there's one down at Salem. The next closest one would be, there's Medford, Pendleton, and wait, there is one at Pendleton, right? There's one at Spokane, I know that.
Mm.
And then there's also one up at Forks, Washington. So on Sunday the 12th, so this just shows, this is near sea level. 700 millibars is about 10,000 feet, like the top of Mount Hood.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a day I was skiing up at Timberline, actually, and it was in the mid-20s.
Yeah.
It wasn't exceptionally cold, but it was kind of normal. But you can see here the temperature of the isotherms, I guess you'd say, here is 0, and this is in Celsius, of course, so 32 degrees here. So the balloon started at, looks like between 5 and 10, which, it was in the mid-40s, let's say.
Uh-huh.
And then it goes down. And by the way, the one line on the right, this is temperature. The one on the left is dew point,
Okay.
amount of moisture in the air. Okay.
And we're talking about environmental, right? Or
this
is
is
a
what
partial
actually
trace?
occurred. No, this is what actually occurred.
Okay, got it.
This is what the balloon found as it went up.
Got it.
Yeah. And so you can see the temperature. I mean, looks like a pretty even drop all the way up to maybe 7,000 feet.
Yeah.
A very mini inversion, like a degree or two went up slightly here, and then it went down. And look how dry it was above about, this would be, 8,000 feet. Actually, that's funny because when I was skiing up there, a lot of times you could see the top of the mountain, but a lot of clouds were coming across the middle of the mountain, which I guess was here. Oh, so that works out.
Yeah.
So when they go far apart, that means it got very dry, relative humidity very low in here, but pretty saturated all the way up.
Mm-hmm.
But see how it just kind of gradually drops.
Yeah.
So in this case, Sunday the 12th, it was 25 at Timberline, 31 at government camp, and 47 at Portland. So that was, am I right? Yeah, there was about a 22 degrees. Typically, Portland should be about maybe 22 degrees warmer than Timberline. And sure enough, that's about what happened on Sunday the 12th.
Yeah. So
But
deep column of moisture there.
Yeah, quite a bit of moisture. Snow level that day was around 2,500, and like it notes there, gradual cooling with height. Now, this is on Wednesday the 15th, 2 days ago.
Okay.
This is this the after? Yeah, after 0Z is the afternoon sounding, so
Mhm.
just before dark. The balloon starts. It's chilly. It's kind of in the clouds and fog at Salem. It starts. Salem was it was around 40. At this time, it was cooler than that at Salem. But I think the high temperature had been up around 40 degrees up in here. But notice it starts cooling off. Everything seems normal at first, right? It gets cooler, cooler, cooler. It gets as low as 34 degrees right here. And this is at 1,600 feet. But then at 1,600 feet, bang, the temperature jumps. Dew point stays about the same, but the temperature jumps from 34 to 59 degrees, just 1,300 feet higher.
Wow.
So this would be the base of the inversion here. This would be the top. And so what has happened is all this air. Oh, and by the way, then once you hit about 3,000 feet, then the temperature starts to fall off, kind of like normal.
Yeah.
Very dry.
Right.
So what's going on is we have with subsidence inversion. There's strong high pressure overhead and it's sinking air and it's warming and drying, but then it only makes it down to about here, and we've got cool air stuck in the lowest elevations, like the lowest 2,000 feet. 1,600 feet in this case.
Right.
So that's pretty amazing. We do see these commonly in the wintertime because the sun just can't reach down. The sun is too weak. The nights are too long.
Yep.
The sun is not warming the ground down here, which would then in turn, through mixing, would warm the air just above the ground. So we're not getting the mixing. But there's hope. If you're saying, oh my gosh, I can't take another 4 weeks of this stuff. Anytime a weather system comes through, it breaks it up, and then we're back to the well mix like last Sunday. Or once we hit about mid-February, about Valentine's Day, the sun starts getting strong enough that in a pattern like this, it's able to heat the ground even through some cloud cover, and we start mixing out more commonly. And by early March, inversions are pretty rare, except at nighttime. Almost any clear night, there's an inversion, even in summertime.
Yeah.
It'd just be much shallower, just in the lowest few hundred feet.
Yeah. Or if we happen to get more wind, right, coming through any of the, over the next month or whatever, if we get a windier conditions, that helps to break up the inversion.
It can,
as well.
yeah. Right. That'll help mix it out nicely. So, yeah, that's a classic inversion that we get this time of the year. And the effect was, so this was Wednesday the 15th, this sounding. It was similar the day before, though the day before we had a very weak easterly flow coming out of the gorge.
Look at that little pocket.
It briefly cleared out. I think this was around 2 p.m. I drove through it, had the sunglasses, came over the West Hills, dropped off the West Hills, and our station's actually right here. And I'm like, why is it getting so dark? And I realized, oh yeah, I've driven into the clouds.
Yeah.
Like this, don't need the sunglasses. And Hillsborough, these dots are Hillsborough Airport, Portland, and Troutdale. You can see how Portland and Troutdale broke out a little bit. And I think this is the day it warmed up nicely at the PDX.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the next day. But this is a classic signature of an inversion this time of the year. The I-5 corridor, I-5 is kind of the middle of it, right? You go out to the coast, you go into anywhere above the inversion. It's great. Look at Mount Hood sitting in the sunshine.
Yeah.
Beautiful weather.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, once we get to mid-February, then we're out of inversions again. We don't really see, it's really Thanksgiving, mid-November to mid-February. About 3 months of the year, the sun is just too weak and we can get all day long inversions.
And would you say, I at least have noticed in the models that we use on TV, they have a hard time
I know where you're going with this.
Right? Figuring out
They're terrible.
When that fog is going to mix out. Yeah, I would say the vast majority of them say, oh yeah, by noon we'll all be in the sunshine. And sometimes it just does not happen.
I think you're totally right. I think they handle the development of the low clouds and fog nicely.
Yeah.
But you have no idea when it's really going to break out.
Right.
Like today, of course, it showed just some, and then it would break out pretty quickly. That did not happen. I'll have a satellite picture coming up here in a moment. But they just don't handle the lowest, just like with cold air masses when we have really cold Arctic air, the lowest 1,500 feet.
Yeah.
It's just tough for them to get right.
So then if a viewer comes up to you, Mark, and they're like, well, why can't you forecast that better? Are there any tools that can lead us to forecasting that better? What's your answer?
I say models are getting better and better. They handle it much better than they used to.
Yeah.
And then I say, it's money back guarantee. How much should you pay for that forecast?
Nice. I like
nice.
That. Good.
Elitist snob. No, I would not actually say that. I might joke about it, but I would say, models are getting better and better, and they are handling this better. In the past, my first 15 years forecasting, we wouldn't even see it show up on the models. We would just know, high pressure, it's moist.
There's probably going to be fog.
It's probably going to be fog.
Oh,
we would have no idea when it would burn off.
Yeah.
We always had the satellite imagery, although even then it wasn't quite as good.
Oh, so the point is, folks, it is tricky. That one's a tricky one to get right.
Very tricky.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Very tricky. Okay, next subject, dry January so far. All right. So who put these out of order?
Well.
Good Lord. Wait, what's my order? Okay. Well, I did throw this in here. I did want to point out how we have turned towards a cooler pattern. You notice this just shows the red shows the average high temperature here in Portland. The blue is the average low. We've got the last month, and notice all through December, all the way until about the 12th of January, all those above normal overnight lows.
Mm-hmm.
We've
Lots
had
of
no
40s.
no freezing at Portland at the airport since, I think, December 10th or the 6th.
Wow.
It's been a long time. So we are way overdue for frost. We still haven't officially had a frost since that time in Portland, but it's getting closer, a whole bunch of 30s, and we're thinking tonight should be the night. It's very exciting. One other thing, do you notice anything on the red line there, Camilla? Anything it does? The red line? Look closer.
It does go up a little bit, doesn't it?
It's ticking up.
As of recent times, yeah.
We've hit bottom, and now we're moving up. Speaking of a dry January, see, we've hit bottom. We're coming back now, so that's good.
Nice.
Dry. So we've had 2.17 inches of rain. We're just past the halfway point. We've got 2 weeks to go. I see really nothing through the 24th. I mean, there could be showers here, which we'll get to in a moment. We'll see. I mean, I think there's a good chance that we have a drier than normal January. That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, and it started wet, so you just never know what turns we're going to take within the month.
That's right.
Yeah.
2-week precip anomaly. Look at the whole West Coast. Of course, California still hasn't, Southern California hasn't even had a start to their wet season yet, and it's mid to late January.
Crazy.
But that's a 2-week anomaly. So pretty dry, but you're saying, uh-oh, are we going to have a drought? Is this an issue? No, not for now, because look at the 3-month anomaly. We're at or above normal across the Pacific Northwest, and the whole northern third of California is fine as well. But you can see the systems just haven't made it down to the south. Look at the 1% of normal, which means basically it's been dry since mid-October in that southern third of California.
Yeah, and we had we had an above average December, right, for rainfall in Oregon? Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
So that's your 3 months. Most of it was December, so good stuff there. So we're doing fine on the precipitation. Enjoy the sunshine again as we go through the weekend with the sunshine, because we'll get more precipitation will return at some point. Snowpack update. So what are we doing for the snowpack? Well, right around in the northern part of the Oregon Cascades, we're about average. And I think I mentioned this in the last podcast. High elevation sites are way above normal. Lower elevation sites are below normal because we had a lot of mild storms warm storms, let's say, back in December. But there was enough to make it across South Central Oregon, Southeast, Central, and Northeast. They're still doing fine. We're still good.
Those regions look great.
Yeah. And it's pretty good across the southern Washington Cascades, but you get to northern Washington, it's a little bit below average. It's not a huge deal. No one's freaking out. Okay, no need to write a big newspaper headline. But yeah, a little below average. So another week of dry weather, it's going to be time. I'm going to want some more snow in the Cascades, mostly for my own benefit. Okay, so here we go. Here's the hardcore water numbers. This left image here is a Mount Hood test site. That's at the bottom of the Poochie Lift. If you melt it down to the whole snowpack, you get the snow water equivalent. Basically, it would be like if you could suddenly snap your fingers like that and melt all that snow at the bottom of the Poochie Lift at Timberline.
How many inches would you have?
It rained 32.6 inches. Yeah, that's why we like it that the snow, goes down slow, melts slowly in the spring. But that's the highest at that location since I looked. It was 2009. So that's the best in 15 or 16 years.
Okay, pretty good.
You see a low one. These were really rough where it was 12.5 inches back in mid-January of 2015. I think those were El Nino years. We had the blob out in the Pacific, pretty warm stuff.
Yeah.
So that's at about 4,800 feet. If you go down to 3,000 feet here, they've only got 3.2.
Wow.
Which is pretty low. That said, you see sometimes that happens. There are low numbers here sometimes. So every year at lower elevations, each year is different. Typically in La Nina winters, we do pretty well at those lower elevations. So far, that has not happened this year. I think that's one thing that I would have expected in a La Nina winter is that by mid-January, heading in, well, it'll be in a week, it'll be the 24th. By the 24th of January, we're still going to be sitting there with that number, that we would have had better snow by the end of January at the lower elevations.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for a La Nina winter, we're seeing maybe warmer than warmer than average storms. Is that fair to say?
So far. Yeah. And almost no storms this month after the first week. Yeah. So that's your snowpack update. Okay, what's next? This is what everybody cares about, right?
Yeah.
Is it going to snow at my house in a week and a half?
Mark, more and more people are asking me, are we going to get snow? Is it going to happen for us in Portland this year? And I'm like, well, we have a lot of winter left, but
that's true.
Give
it if we don't get snow in 2 more weeks, we're soon going to hear, because Wayne Garcia, who used to work with us, he used to say about the first week of February, he'd be like, "Hey, dude, is that it? Is that it? Are we done?"
Yeah.
That's really it. Can I take my tires off? I'm like, well, we'll see.
It's happened in late February before, hasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. We've had snow in 2 years ago. We had quite a storm in late February. But as for extreme cold Arctic blast, we haven't had that past about February 12th or so.
Ah, okay. There you go.
I mean, I just kind of made up that number mid-February for a big blast. For the hardcore weather geeks that say, hey, I want to see a high temperature of 18 again in Portland and a low temperature of 5.
Yeah.
Or maybe below zero in the outline areas. The big Arctic blasts, they're going to happen in December, January, or the first few days of February.
Okay.
So we have limited time for that. So let's see what we got. My nice little TV graphic. I know we have mainly dry weather the next 10 days. You'll see why. Next chance for showers is next Friday, the 24th. Mm-hmm. I don't think any model has any rain until that time. This weekend, we got the sunny days. Nighttime temperatures are turning colder this weekend because we have some drier air coming out of Canada. We've got the big Arctic blast. It's getting organized now. It's heading down through the northern plains the next 2 days. And we're just on the edge of that. Remember 2 weeks ago, Camila, you were still finishing up your family leave, but 2 weeks ago, I know there was one forecaster in town that put out a Facebook page that said, hey, a Facebook post that said, hey, there's a good chance we get snow and it's the beginning of a cold spell that could go all the way through February, starting MLK weekend.
Oh, boy.
At that point, some of our models were showing something coming into the Pacific Northwest. But as we mentioned in the podcast, we never had a majority of ensemble members showing that.
Right.
It was just kind of hints that it could happen. And now we know the big cold air mass is headed east this weekend. And that leaves us with just, what I like. It's daytime temperatures actually warm up a few degrees because of the sun. But cold nights for sure.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, Portland has hit 27 so far this winter back in early December. I think we should be able to do it at some point in the next 5 days.
Okay. I was going to ask. That's the coldest we've seen so far this winter, 27?
Right.
Okay.
That beautiful sunny spell. Were you in town during that? I know you were busy with
that
baby.
You said mid?
First, right after Thanksgiving, like the week after.
Oh, gosh. I was still...
Was that a blur?
I don't think I know what planet I was on at that. That would have been like exactly a month.
I bet.
Right? Ish? Postpartum? Yeah, I don't...
Yeah,
I couldn't tell you what day it was, so...
Yeah, that's okay. What day is it right now?
I do know it is Friday, the 17th.
Oh, thank God. Okay,
yeah.
You're good. She is back,
I'm coming
folks.
back.
She's back.
The brain's returning slowly, but sure.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
What I think it's fair to say at this point, we don't see a lowland Arctic blast or snow for at least another week through next Friday. Yes. I think that's safe to say.
And as our air's drying out, right, we should see less fog too in the coming days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So today, I mean, we didn't really have an inversion today. I mean, it was a little cool during the night, but we had pretty cool air mass overhead. So I thought we'd break out a bit more quickly, but this was a satellite loop today. The little star is downtown Portland. And we saw this only goes through, I think, 3 p.m. because then you couldn't see much on the visible imagery.
Yeah.
But I just finished the 4 o'clock show and it was almost clear over downtown Portland. Mm-hmm. So drier air is working in from above. You do see a flow from the north, both in eastern Oregon and also coming down through Puget Sound. So some drier air is coming down from the north. So that's good. I think that'll work on the cloud deck a bit tonight, but that won't help with we have no low level wind tonight. So that's not going to help with any areas of dense fog to develop.
Right.
Okay. Ooh.
Well, look at this beautiful loop.
That's a mistake. It says visible. It's water vapor.
You ruined it.
I think it's mid-level water vapor. Yeah. But the resolution, the satellites that were launched, the GOES 19, GOES-R. Look at the wave.
Yeah.
The waviness, the wave clouds coming over all those ranges of southeast Oregon,
really
western
cool.
Idaho, and pretty cool. So we have actually high pressure developing overhead here to the west again. A little upper level shortwave has gone by to the east, down in here. This little thing, I don't know why it's just sitting. It's just ridiculous. I don't know why it's just sitting there doing nothing. It doesn't seem to have any effect on anybody's weather, but it's a little cutoff lows.
Yeah.
Like a lost kid just wandering the streets on a cold winter
wanting
night.
To be loved.
So obviously that is not a visible satellite loop. So here's what it looks like in the, this is from the Euro. This is the upper level pattern right now, basically. And this is 18,000 feet, 500 millibars. It's not the jet stream level, but on TV, we call it the jet stream sometimes.
Insider baseball right there.
Yeah, we're not really lying, but we are fibbing slightly. Little white lie. But the weather systems do follow this general flow, okay, around like this.
Yeah.
So you can see high pressure here, lower heights here, and we've got northerly flow in the upper atmosphere. There's a wave here, and there's maybe a wave in there. Kind of hard to see. We have another product called vorticity, but I'm not going to show you that. Well, I will show you, though, the same thing for Sunday morning, but now we just make it the anomaly, which is above normal or below normal heights. And you can see the big plunge of below normal heights coming down. The Arctic air mass is sliding down like a little, I guess it's kind of a little lobe of the polar vortex. I don't know.
It'll be chilly in the Great Plains, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's an Arctic blast. I don't know if I refer to it as polar vortex. I'm sure many media folks will. But then you see this upper level high just west of us, and there's that lonely low sitting down. I don't know what it's doing under the high. But what we have there, so the hint was over the last few weeks, what if this high just backs up a little bit to the west, or if the pattern sets up, then this would be a little farther west, we'd be in Arctic air. That was the concern. And it's going to continue to be the concern, I think, over the next 10 days at least.
Yeah.
Does it suddenly back up? And so every time we get one model run in, last night's 0Z Euro, that shows the Arctic air coming slightly farther west, we get excited. Like, could it happen? And then, we look at different things to tell us, nah, it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
But it could.
Yeah.
So this is Tuesday. It looks like the ridge is breaking down. Not really. It's just like yesterday, a little wave is coming through the ridge.
Yes.
We're going to keep getting these, and I didn't do an animation. I didn't do an animation. Basically, little waves keep riding over the ridge and coming down like this into this long wave trough out here.
Yeah.
So it's squished a little bit Tuesday. This also, each time this happens, by the way, it lowers surface pressures east of the Cascades. That's why we're not getting these long periods of east wind over the last week and over the next week.
Right.
We're not going to get this, consistent, strong east wind out of the gorge, which is nice. It'll come and go. So it kind of disappears on Tuesday. Now, this is the European model for Friday. This is the morning run here. And you see the ridge is pretty strong again, a little farther west. Oh, and this wave, which on Tuesday was out here, is flopping down over the ridge and digging right in behind it. That's pretty chilly for us.
Yeah.
That is pretty chilly. If you just look at this model and you look at some of the other data, the thicknesses, the 500 to 1,000 millibar thickness is about 522, which is almost cold enough for snow to sea level. Looks like there'll probably be some showers around Friday. But the ensemble average 850 millibar temp is about -5, which is only slightly cooler than we had last weekend where snow fell down to about 2,000 feet. So I'm not too excited about this coming Friday.
Yeah.
Unless suddenly models decide, hey, it's going to dig. It's funny. It wouldn't take much, Camila. If this were to just dig a little more out here, we could be in the snow business to sea level, or we could be in Arctic air.
Right. Because right now, basically, the worst of it is just east of the Cascades.
The real cold stuff back here.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see.
So then, here we got 5 different forecast models for the same time on Friday.
Look at that.
We've got the Euro AI. See, the trough isn't quite as deep. That's more like, it's kind of chilly. A trough slides through a few showers. That's it. Ridge is still close. This is the Spire, which is, I forget. I think it's a company that's come up with its own modeling. GFS, we know the GFS, it's been weaker all along. GFS has been more ridgy, with the ridgy closer to us consistently over the last week or so. Just saying, no, we're not going to get the cold stuff, really.
Yeah.
JML, Japanese Meteorological Organization, has a pretty sharp trough.
Keeps it north of us mostly.
GEM, Canadians.
Also, we're kind of on the edge of it.
I don't know.
Yeah, so you're right. It's really not looking super impressive right now.
Yeah, if we take just week 1 of the Euro, this is the Euro ensemble, so this is all 50 ensemble members averaged together. The ridging is pretty close to the coastline. It's cozied up pretty close to us all the way through next Thursday. That's also why we have pretty much a dry forecast for the next week.
Yeah.
On average, it's cold troughing in the central and the eastern USA, ridging over and west of the west coast.
Yeah.
That's week 1. But wait, you watching? Camila, you watching?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Like a hawk.
That's a little different.
Yeah.
Week 2, which is the last week of January.
Yeah.
So what's going on here? It's hard to tell. I mean, it's not hard to tell.
It's just so tricky because it looks like we're kind of still on the edge of it.
Yeah, we're still on the edge, which makes me think, something could still happen in the next two weeks, mainly that last week of January. But is something going to dig down and, really carve out a trough and get us into snow business or cold business? Maybe. I forgot to tell you, I had somebody from promotions come down today before you got in.
Oh, yeah?
Promotions people are upstairs. We love them. They make
they make us look good.
Make us look good. They promote us, but they also, make little things that say, hey, here comes an Arctic blast or whatever. And I had Michelle, she came down and she said, hey, somebody texted me, could there be an Arctic blast coming at the end of next week? And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't quite say that, but I go, as of now, no, we don't have it in the 7-day forecast.
Yeah.
So she goes, okay, well, just let me know. And I'm like, yeah, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
So the point is, we're listening, we're watching. But as of now, we don't see a big Arctic blast coming.
Yeah.
Here's one way we do it. Oh, it's kind of messy, really messy here. European 6-hourly max temps every day, and I cut off the days, so you don't know what day it is.
Yeah, I was like, what in the world?
What does FSSM mean?
I guess this is, you can see the initial
next Friday, the 24th, the high temperature that day.
Okay.
50 different members. Notice there's no Arctic air that day. Next Saturday, do you see any of the reddish ones?
No.
No Arctic air on any of the ensemble members on that Friday, Saturday thing. Sunday, Oh, there's one right there.
One whole
We put a red dot there.
Yeah.
There, I mean. That's the only time, though. Oh, no, I'm sorry. There's one more here.
Oh, yeah.
So two out of 50 have Arctic air dropping into Portland, making it in here. By Arctic air, we mean dry north or northeast wind, and it goes below freezing. I mean, it stays below freezing probably for a daytime high. So 2 out of 50 ensemble members have Arctic air in here next weekend.
That's not good. Not good odds.
Yeah, not good.
Yeah.
The other dots, you see 5 dots here, and you notice this one is right at the end. So what do you know? It's right at the end. This is February 1st, by the way, for January 31st. And then there was one more. Oh, this is like the following, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right after next weekend. And this one, yeah. So, I also like the 60 right here.
Oh, wow.
But the point here is that I'm not seeing, last night there were significantly more ensemble members that were much colder because last night's Euro was much colder. I think I got that coming up. Okay, here we go. The GFS, also same product, max temps. Notice I kept the days of the week here.
That was nice of you this time.
Yeah. It's only got 3 members. So this would be next weekend. This is kind of cold here, but even there, I think it's above freezing. Yeah, it's got 40 after a high of 31. GFS has maybe one ensemble member that really is Arctic air out of 30.
Where you're seeing 20s, low 20s is that max temperature.
Yeah. Or anything 32 or lower for a max temp. Yeah. So, okay.
Yeah.
Wait, I just want to see what. Oh, I cut that one off. Okay. Here's an example. Last night's Euro, we got really excited. 850 millibar temps.
Oh,
anything below -6 is cold enough to get us
minus
sea level. I'm sorry, -7, -8. Yeah, so it had a full-on blast. It was carving out the trough like way out here.
Yeah.
And -20. Well, just think of this. If it was -20 over Mount Hood and the Dalles, that would be 5,000 feet. It'd be 36 degrees below 32. Oh, so at the ski resorts, it'd be around 0 or -3.
Jeez.
So imagine what that would do banking up against the east side of the Cascades. That'd be full on blast. We'd say below freezing here in Portland, highs in the 20s most likely. And that was over the following weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, next weekend.
Yeah.
So that just shows you how if we watch any one operational model run like this, we got to be careful.
Yeah.
You can't, luckily we didn't have to forecast. Our 7-day forecast only goes out through next Friday. But if we would have had to forecast, if we would have had a 10-day forecast, if we ever change that, I don't think nobody in Portland is doing a 10-day forecast on TV. But if we ever have to do that, that's going to be more trouble. My point is, I wouldn't have suddenly changed it based on that year.
Right.
I would have looked at the ensemble averages first.
Yeah.
Which didn't change too much.
Yeah.
Okay. As for rain, will it turn any wetter? A pretty good signal for rain here coming up the end of next week, right?
Friday, Saturday. Yep.
But it's still compared with this in December. What you saw was this was all filled with green through the whole. Through much of the forecast period. All these gaps tell me it's still more likely dry than wet much of the time.
Yeah, spotty for sure.
Yeah, and this takes us right to the 1st of February is right there.
Nice.
It's lurking. So this is a 7-day forecast that we have here. I just put in scattered showers for next Friday, assuming that we're only going to have whatever showers we get is still not cold enough for snow in the lowlands. We'll watch it. We'll see. Okay, so that is your Arctic air update. I hate saying Arctic air. How about polar air? Maybe that'd be better.
There you go.
Although technically polar maritime air is what we get in the winter.
Yeah.
Okay, pictures. We got some good ones. Camila came up with these. Look at that.
Yeah, isn't this cool? So sunrise on Mount Hood, you can see it is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The silhouettes of 5 hikers going up the side of the mountain. Super cool picture by Gary Peterson. See the cool colors in the sky. Just very
good
neat
stuff.
Yeah. Awesome.
And Gary Peterson has been a photographer up there for a long time.
Yeah.
Lots of Mount Hood pics.
Yeah.
Good
Love his stuff.
Okay. Hair ice.
Oh, this is cool. So, yeah.
Go, Camila. Camila said, when we were prepping this, she's like, oh, I know all about this.
Well, I didn't for the record, but I was like, I will do research because this is so cool. If you've seen this in person out in the wilderness.
I've seen it quite a bit out in the woods.
Yeah, in the woods, because basically you need moist air, you need a cold temperature. I think like just below 0 degrees. I think at the surface is ideal.
You mean Celsius?
Yes, Celsius. Thank you for that.
I thought you suddenly became Canadian.
No,
there.
Just sorry. So just below freezing. I just had that 0 in my head.
That's good.
You need rotting wood that doesn't have bark on it. And you need the existence of a fungus called Ixidiopsis. So you need all these things for this hair ice phenomenon to happen. And it's really cool because it really does look like white hair coming out of this piece of wood. So the reason you need this fungus, I guess, Mark, again, I did all this research before we went on this podcast. But I guess one of the byproducts that this fungus produces almost acts like an antifreeze, because otherwise you'd have ice forming as moisture is getting pulled out of the wood. It would form more of like a crust, basically, like one kind of just chunk of ice. But because of the other things that this fungus is producing, it kind of prevents it. So it just like continues to pull moisture out, and that kind of creates that thin, delicate strand of ice. It's really
That's
cool.
pretty neat.
Yeah, it's really neat. So you need a few specific things to happen.
And I think it happens in one night too.
Yes.
It only takes one night, which means you could almost time lapse it. You would just see it kind of grow out of there. That's amazing.
Absolutely. It does look like just hair growing out of this branch. Yeah.
And I will tell you, yes, I don't think I've ever seen it on a live tree. I always see it on like downed pieces of wood sitting on the ground. I just saw it yesterday when I was riding my bike.
Yeah.
No, I didn't ride my bike yesterday. When I drove to work, it was down in the shade.
Yeah, and it makes sense. It needs to be decomposing. You need to have the fungi in there.
That was impressive. Now, I'd like you to make a TV weather graphic for that so we can explain it.
Okay, I'm on it.
Because, we have these boring Januaries and Decembers and Februaries when the weather is not happening. So
yeah, it's true.
Thank you, Laura, by the way. Laura Kruger.
Yes, she sent in this picture. Actually, and I don't think she said where this was taken.
In the woods somewhere where it's moist.
Of course.
And we know it was below 32.
Yes.
Fahrenheit.
Yes.
By the way, if you want to submit a picture, you have one to share. You can. Well, I was going to say you can email us one, but the problem is with corporate stuff nowadays.
It's better to do it through the app.
We'd like to see it either through our app, or you're like, I don't want to add another app. I'd love you guys, but you can go to kptv.com/weather right there across the top. Submit your photos. We're always looking for pet photos too. Cute pets.
Yes, dog walk forecast.
They could be funny looking pets too.
Yeah.
We just need content for our shows. We do a lot of shows. We need content, folks. Help us out.
When the weather's boring, especially, please give us something to talk about.
Look at this one.
Beautiful. Yeah, so you can see the clouds. This obviously it was taken around, what is this, sunrise or sunset?
Ooh, I assume sunrise.
Yeah.
But I don't know why I would say that.
I don't know either, but it does look like more of a sunrise than a sunset. But anyway,
we've decided.
Yeah, you can see all the beautiful pink, the bottoms of the clouds, and it's reflecting in the Nehalem River. It's just so peaceful. Jeremy Cham took this picture.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good stuff. And you know what? I should have mentioned this at the very beginning of the podcast. Last week, we know there was an audio issue. I started listening, and I wasn't watching because I just wanted to hear it in the car. And it sounded like we were cutting each other off. And then there were these weird dead periods when we were talking, like, what's going on? And we realized Camila's track, we recorded in 3 different locations. Camila's track was about 2 seconds ahead of or behind ours. I think it was ahead of ours.
It was ahead. So if you're like, wow, Camila's really rude and she's just interrupting everyone
constantly,
that's not what actually happened.
And if you watch it, then you kind of realize like something's off here. And we apologize for that. I couldn't fix it. It had already gone out, and then we still couldn't fix it. So we're hoping this one, we're doing it within the station. So maybe it was a one-time thing and it never happened before. So, so that was pretty cool stuff. So
yeah.
Okay, good podcast. I hope I hit the record button. I did hit that, right?
I do see it. It says recording.
That has happened one time. That did happen. I didn't hit the record button. But yeah, thanks for joining us. For Camila, anything else?
No, that was very informative.
It is freezing in this room. I'm in the recording booth. It's freezing, and I know it's a cold night outside. I'm going to go get that coffee grinder going. I'm going to get some coffee. So thanks for joining us. Hopefully you learned a little bit about inversions and what was hair ice and everything else, the Euro. Episode 125. We should be back next week. We think we're in a pretty regular rotation for 126, and hopefully we have a new employee. And hopefully, in fact, did I promise her she would join us this week? I think I did, and she said, "No, I'm busy moving."
Yeah, which that's fair.
She knows how to set boundaries very good.
That's good. So hopefully, we're not lying to you. Next week you'll get to meet her. Yeah.
Yeah, next week. So see you folks later, and I'll see you in a few minutes.
All right.
You're waiting and hesitating, and tell us, please tell us about